Have you ever wondered why the stock market hits all-time highs while the real economy seems to be falling apart? Why luxury real estate prices double in a few short years while your salary barely moves? Why, during the worst global crisis of our lifetime, the world's billionaires added trillions to their net worth while millions of people stood in line for food? Most people call this the madness of the market. They say the system is broken, but they are wrong. The system isn't broken. It is working exactly as it was designed. There is a hidden mechanism in our financial system, a secret first discovered in the 18th century by a mysterious banker. It explains why inflation is not just an accident, but a tool. It explains why, whenever the money printer starts worry, wealth doesn't trickle down. It floods up. It is the greatest legal theft in history, and it is happening to your bank account right now. To understand this, we have to unlearn everything we were taught about money in school. We are told that when the government prints money, it causes inflation, and prices rise for everyone equally. If bread costs 10% more and your wages go up 10%, nobody gets hurt, right? That is the lie that keeps the system running. The truth is, money is not like water being sprinkled evenly over a garden. Money is like honey. When you pour honey, it clumps. It sticks to the hands of the person holding the jar. It piles up in the center before it ever slowly trickles out to the edges. This concept was identified by Richard Cantillon, an Irish-French economist and one of the most successful speculators who ever lived. In the 1730s, he wrote down a dangerous observation. He who is near the money printer gets rich. He who is far from it gets poor. He realized that where money enters the economy is far more important than how much enters. And in our modern world, you are standing at the very edge of the honeypot, waiting for drops that never come. Let's go back to where this pattern was first exposed. Paris, 1719. France was bankrupt. The wars of King Louis XIV had drained the treasury. Enter John Law, a charismatic Scottish gambler who convinced the French regent to try a revolutionary experiment: replace gold with paper money. They established the Banque Royale and started printing paper currency to buy shares in the Mississippi Company, a trade monopoly that promised immense riches from the Americas. The printing presses ran hot. Money flooded Paris. Richard Cantillon was there, watching. He noticed something peculiar. The new paper money didn't go to the peasants or the bakers first. It went to the insiders, the friends of John Law, the aristocracy, and the bankers. These people, flush with cash that no one else had yet, went out and bought land, estates, and stocks while prices were still low. They lived like kings. But as that money slowly moved from the hands of the rich to the merchants, and finally to the workers, prices began to explode. By the time the common laborer received this new paper money, the price of bread had doubled, then tripled. The aristocrats had traded their paper for real assets. The people were left holding the paper when the bubble burst. The economy collapsed, riots broke out, and John Law fled for his life. But Cantillon, he had bet against the currency. He walked away with a fortune because he understood the sequence. He knew that inflation is simply a transfer of wealth from those who get the money last to those who get it first. Fast forward 300 years. The wigs and carriages are gone, but the mechanism remains exactly the same. Only now, the scale is global. Here is how the Cantillon effect plays out in the modern economy. It happens in 4 brutal stages. Stage 1 is the injection. The central bank, the Federal Reserve, the ECB, or the Bank of Japan decides to save the economy. They print trillions of dollars. But they don't mail that money to you. They use it to buy bonds from the government and major financial institutions. This leads to Stage 2, the insiders. The big banks, hedge funds, and corporations get this fresh cash first, at near-zero interest rates. The money hasn't circulated in the real economy yet, so consumer prices, milk, gas, rent haven't gone up. These insiders use this free money to buy assets. They buy stocks, they buy corporate bonds, and they buy real estate. This artificial demand pushes asset prices to the moon. This is why the stock market disconnects from reality. Then comes stage 3, the trickle. Slowly, the money moves from the financial sector into the real economy. Corporations might build a new headquarters or hire a few executives. The money begins to circulate. And finally, stage 4, the trap. By the time the money reaches your paycheck, years might have passed. But now, that massive supply of money is everywhere. Prices for everything you need, food, energy, housing, skyrocket. Your salary might have gone up 3% or 5%, but the house you wanted to buy has gone up 40%. You haven't just lost purchasing power. You have been the victim of a wealth transfer. The value of your labor was stolen to subsidize the asset bubbles of the wealthy. This is the mirror moment. Look at the world since 2020. It is a textbook example of the Cantillon Effect on steroids. Governments pumped over $20 trillion into the global economy to fight the pandemic. The result? We saw a K-shaped recovery. If you were on the top branch of the cave, you owned stocks. If you owned prime real estate, you became wealthier than you ever imagined. The liquidity lifted you up. But if you were on the bottom branch, you trade your time for money. If you rent your home, if you keep your savings in cash, you were crushed. You are now competing for housing against multi-billion-dollar investment funds that have access to cheap money that you will never see. This explains the anger we feel in society today. People know the game is rigged, even if they can't name the mechanic. They work harder, produce more, but fall further behind. It's not bad luck, it's simple math. When the money supply expands, inequality doesn't just happen. It is mathematically guaranteed. If this pattern continues, and it must, because our governments are addicted to debt, we are heading toward a dangerous horizon. We are witnessing the death of the middle class and the rise of a new structure, neo-feudalism. A world divided strictly into two castes, the Cantillon class, the technocrats and financiers who live near the source of the money, owning all the assets. And the service class, the rest of us, who will own nothing, rent everything, and see the value of our hard work erode month after month. History tells us how this ends. When the gap between the palace and the street becomes too wide to bridge, society breaks. From the French Revolution to the collapse of the Roman denarius, the end of the Cantillon cycle is never soft. It is sudden, it is brutal, and it is final. Richard Cantillon died in a mysterious fire in London in 1734. Some say he was murdered. Some say he faked his death to escape with his fortune. But his warning survived the flames. Money is not neutral. The system is not designed for your stability. It is designed for its own survival. You cannot stop the printing press, but you can choose where you stand. You can stop holding the paper that is melting in your hands and start understanding real assets. We are going to explore exactly how to do that and how to protect yourself from the coming debt spiral in our next video.